Okay. Starting at the top, our formal firm name is Keller Williams Realty. Let me pull up the form for you guys all. And if you guys have your computer there, you can sign in to do so there as well. I'll put it here on. Everybody knows where to find the forms, right? In MLS transaction debt. And again, we're going to find CBR 345, residential listing agreement, standard agency. And I'm going to share my screen. All right, you guys can see that now. Firm name, Keller Williams Realty. Firm address, 6806 Paragon Place, Suite 300, Richmond 23230. Firm broker name, Rick, R-I-C-K, Carroll, C-O-C-K-R-I-L-L. He is our broker. And our phone number, you never give the broker phone number here, put the office number, 804-282-5901. Okay. Exclusive right to sell.
Patrice, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Can you spell Rick's last name again, please? You were coming in and out. Is that T? Is it Tom?
Hold on, I'm going to type it. Rick Carroll. Okay.
Thank you.
Exclusive right to sell. This is where you put the owner's name. And you need to put the owner's name as it is formally. You can look at tax records and see. If he goes by Teddy, but tax records show Theodore, you put Theodore. If you know Bob Smith, but tax records show Robert, put Robert. This is also important to make sure you've got the right players that you're talking to. You might be talking to Ethel Smith and you look in tax records and it may be in an estate name, or you might see Ethel Smith, Bob Smith, and Joe Smith. And you go, hey, Ethel, who are these other guys? He goes, oh, they're my brothers, but they want me to handle it. Guess what? You now need those signatures and they need to be on it. Okay. I am helping a buyer and we found an off-market condo that he's buying. The seller doesn't have an agent because it's off market. So when I wrote up the contract, I didn't have an MLS to go from to see who the seller was. In tax records, it's an LLC, but I'm dealing with her. In this line, you would put the LLC, the seller. LLC owns the property. But in the signature line later, can an entity sign? No, an LLC can't make a signature. So she signed as an authorized manager in that LLC, And I said, I need the documentation that says you're an authorized signer. So she gave me the affidavit of signature authorizing her. You'll need to get some other documents, but that's what we needed to get under contract. So the undersigned owners hereby grant the above named firm. They are naming the firm, not you personally. You are an agent of the firm, just like that LLC. We had this happen during COVID. An agent of ours had the representation and was in the hospital and could not handle her functions. Well, guess what? I'm an agent of the brokerage. I could take over the deal because the deal is with the brokerage. Okay? So this is saying, and you guys, people get these dates mixed up. You've got to read these documents. I encourage you to not just know what to fill in, you've got to know the why behind it and what it means. So this line says they get the exclusive and irrevocable right and privilege getting with the date of the last owner's signature and ending at 11:59 p.m. on this date. That says ending. Underline the word ending. So many times when I review these, people put today's date. They see a line and a date, and they just put today's date. I'm like, okay, well, congrats, you got the shortest listing ever. It started today and ended today. So please make sure you read these things. Property located in, that's where you'll put city, county, street address, tax parcel, and legal description. Again, where can you find this information? Tax records. Right. Look it up in tax records. Make sure that stuff is correct. You might be selling the wrong property. Items included. Read that sentence for me, somebody.
Patrice, before you guys read that sentence, can you tell me where I can find that information?
In tax records.
Tax
And yeah, like if you go into MLS and go into tax search, you can either do municipal tax search or realist tax. And you'll put the address in, as you know it, 123 Main Street, and it gives you all that information.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then items included. Unless otherwise specified, all improvements, fixtures, appurtenances, and the additional property, if any described here, are included in the sales price. If you remember from a purchase agreement, we went over this last week. In a purchase agreement, it clearly states in the personal property section that in a home, a stove, range, oven, built-in dishwasher, ceiling fan, line, anything attached to the property automatically conveys. Don't start writing all that stuff here. This is where you would include additional items, such as a refrigerator, washer dryer. There's like a wine fridge. Okay, things like that. Listing price and terms. The sale price of the property is to be blank, which includes selling compensation. That way they don't think that that doesn't include your commission. And that's a great time to be having that discussion. You guys, I have to keep running back and forth, sorry, to let people in. Let's try to be on time so that we can all be in the room and get everything from the beginning. So listing price is the price which includes compensation. Read 4 so you know about cooperating in MLS. Number 5, this is one of the second most often states on a listing agreement. That paragraph says, owner agrees to pay to the broker a compensation fee equal to the total of the following. So what would you put in that first box? Blank percent of gross sale of the property.
6%.
Okay, I got 3. What else?
6.
6. I now want you to underline total. Total compensation, where it says the fee equal to the total. If you put 3 here, you're not getting paid. Because then in the box, in the second paragraph at the bottom, this fee shall be paid in cash at settlement, blah, blah, blah. And you're gonna check that box that says that the owner is authorizing the broker to cooperate with and compensate other brokers the following. So if that's where you put 3, the total compensation is 6, compensation to the other is 3. If you put 3 and 3, guess who's getting all of it? And you're working for free. You guys have got to send me these forms before you go live with a listing, okay? If the seller says, look, I don't have a lot of extra fluff in my equity, I can't do 6. This other agent said to do it for 5. Will you do it for 5 total? And then split 2.5, 2.5. No, you don't have to split it in half. You could do 3 and 2. Okay. Some brokerages, another brokerage I was at, you couldn't make those decisions on your own. You had to get broker approval. We allow you to make those decisions, but just know you're setting a precedence if you do something like that, right? So you have to decide, are they just asking for something or are you willing to do it? Okay. You've got to prove your value, and some agents say, well, here's what I do for 2%. Here's my list of services for 3. What do you want me to not do on the 3 to get to the 2? Well, I want all of it, right? So you've got to decide how you're going to run your business. My listing that sold last month was, we listed it at $1,050,000. And he asked me to do it for 4% total, 2 and 2. I'd rather get 2% of $1 million than 3% of nothing, right? And he's now the buyer that I'm also working with on another property that I will get the 3%. It's not $1 million, but it's building that relationship. Yeah. Now, what I do if I'm doing it for somebody, then I'll say, look, I'm going to ask you for referrals, and I'm going to hope at the end of this that you see my service is worth a full 3%. But if you refer someone to me or you're talking to friends and family, please don't tell them I did a reduced commission, because this is how I get it. Okay. There's another scenario that you can do. Always carry 3 $1 bills. Zenith, carry 3 $1 bills when you go Thursday. If anyone asks you to cut your commission, you pull out those $3 bills and you give them the list of reduced commission and full commission. But you pull out the 3 $1 bills and you sit it on the table. And you say, when you're calculating what you think I'm going to get and take home for my commission, here's my commission represented in 3 $1 bills. Hold on a second. Fine. Sorry. Here's the. Thanks for letting me know you did it. Okay, so when you take out the three $1 bills and you go, this is my commission, this represents my commission. I don't get to keep all of this commission that you're calculating. One of these $1 bills is going where? To the brokerage. I gotta pay my brokerage. I've got fees to my brokerage, that goes to them. This other, and to MLS fees and all my other expenses. Your brokerage fee is an expense. The second $1 bill goes where? Uncle Sam, to the government for your taxes. Right? So then you show them, this is about what I get left. So that also shows them, it's not like you're going to be free and clear with that whole percentage, okay? So, earning your full percentage and earning your value is a whole nother class. All right, moving on to page 2, number 6, dual and designated agency. Consents or does not consent to dual agency. Generally speaking, for you all right now, I would put does not consent to dual agency. You all are not experienced enough to do dual agency, and even our most experienced agents will not do dual agency because that is a issue opportunity there. The dual agent says that you're going to help both the buyer and seller. Can you serve your listing to the highest intent and integrity when you know what their bottom line number is, when you know why they're selling? Do you think you can represent them the best if you're also representing the buyer? And with the buyer, you're trying to get them the lowest price. The seller, you're trying to get them the highest price. The buyer, you're trying to negotiate repairs. The seller, you're trying to keep them from doing repairs. You can't serve two masters. So if it comes up, now, if you're sitting your open house for your listing and someone walks in unrepresented, says, this is the house, I want to write an offer, you can say, let me get your information. I'm going to call you as soon as this is over. Okay. Then you call them and you meet with them and you talk to them about representing them as a buyer. And you can even go so far as to get the buyer's agreement. But then you say, I don't feel like I can serve you the best that I would want to serve you since I'm already engaged to represent the listing. I'm going to refer you to a dynamite agent in my office. And then you refer them to someone in the office and they write up their contract. And then you get 25% of the commission for the referral. So you can still get something, okay? The other side to that is 9 times out of 10, they're not going to be the winner on that property, right? If you're in a multiple offer situation and because you're representing both have to approve. The seller might say, no, I don't want you representing anybody. I want you representing me. But you at that point cannot say anything material that will help or dissuade either way. So 9 times out of 10, that person's not going to end up being the buyer on that property. And then you go, sorry, you didn't get that one, sweetie. Come on, we're going to go out and find you something else. And now you've got your buy. You see what I'm saying? So you do not want to consent, and anything you say, that's why a lot of agents won't do it, is because anything you say, if they come back and go, I'm filing a claim because I feel like you're looking out for her, not me this time. And then they file an ethics claim or an E&O, there's just too many opportunities for it to go south. Okay, so no to dual agency. And Jamia, since you got the sign-in sheet, can you add Lisa Smith? It's online, in the online section. Yes, and Idalis. And whoever iPhone is, you're not gonna get credit for being here unless you put your name instead of iPhone. The second one is designated agent. From your PSI exam, you remember designated agency. Designated agency means the brokerage has designated someone. And that's where, if you're representing a buyer and or the seller, the agreement, remember I said, is with who? The brokerage. So then the brokerage is assigning you to handle this. Same thing with the buyer. The buyers are considered with the brokerage, and the brokerage then assigns it to you. So here you will put, does consent to designated agency. What that means is, in the event you do your listing zenith on Thursday, and someone else in the office brings the buyer, then our brokerage is designating both you, they're designating both you and them. Okay? Common interest property. This is the new term as of July 1 for what? HOA. Good job, Jania. Yes, this is the new term for HOA. So if this is in a common interest community, it is or it is not subject to. And then don't forget the second box in number 7 authorizes or does not authorize you to order the resale certificate. Okay, make sure everything's filled out. Opting out of the internet. If the owner does not want the property displayed on the internet, check that box. Okay, if they do not want the address displayed, check that box. So you may sometimes see advertisements or things in the internet that come up and it shows a great house and price, and you're like, well, where's the address? They don't want the address listed. In most cases, the majority of people want that information listed so that they can sell their house. Yep. And it says, owner understands and acknowledges that if option A is selected, consumers who do conduct searches will not see that property. And then they can initial, okay? Then these next 2 lines, the owner authorizes or does not authorize third parties to write comments or reviews, or does not authorize an automated estimate. I generally advise my clients to put does not. You do not want someone to be able to go in there and put, I went in this house, it's a dog, it's run down, it's overpriced. You don't want that to happen. And then the next one is the automated estimate of market value. Again, you don't want Zillow, who doesn't know our area, deciding what something is worth. Okay. Number 9, use of listing content, intellectual property assignment. I'm not going to read all that, but you guys are, right? The owner does or does not assign and transfer to broker any and all copyright and other intellectual property rights. Basically, if you're paying for the photos, those photos are yours. Okay? So what that means is, and some people go, well, what does it matter? I'm going to pay for the pictures. We're going to sell the house. And done deal. What if your owner gets contacted by somebody in their family and says, look, let's do an off-market deal, save you 6%. I want the house unlisted. And they go, you know what? I'm not feeling it. I decided not to sell. Take it off the market. And you do. If you don't have control of the photos, they can use your photos. If they're gonna relist to do a for sale by owner or something like that, right? So you want control of your photos, you're paying for them. There is intellectual property sometimes. Rarely are you gonna be dealing with that. I had a case one time where I was selling a business, and the business was very well known. And the business had a website and a URL, and a domain name. And we sold the intellectual property for an additional fee. You can buy the property, but if you want their very popular website address and domain name, you gotta pay extra. Like you guys are probably not gonna want it. All right, number 10, page 3, lockbox. Does the owner request or does not request a lockbox? If they do not want a lockbox, guess who's going to be going for every showing? Or you're going to be giving a combo code to people. I think that's a slippery slope. If somebody's a combo, now they have it. You have no record of who's going in and out of that house. And then the next part is the owner authorizes or does not authorize the termite inspector to use the lockbox. Sellers are required to provide the wood infestation report to the buyer. That's one thing that the seller pays for. And so most termite inspectors have access to the lockbox. So you just, for safety, some people might go, no, I don't want a termite inspector involved, and you're going to have to be lead-based paint. They represent or warrant that the property was or was not built for 1978. As you know, if it was built before 1978, what needs to happen? Lead-based paint disclosure, right? Septic. You indicate here if it is served by septic. And then the first box is not septic, which is municipal. And then it says conventional or alternative septic. I've had a lot of people turn in a form and they check the box conventional. And I look it up in MLS and I'm like, this is municipal. And they're like, yeah, not the same as conventional? No, it's not. The first option is not served by a septic. That's county or city sewage. The second one, conventional, means like underground septic. Alternative septic is most often found like near the river because of their water tables. They can't put underground septic, so they have above ground septic tanks. But you need to ask your client what they have. Home warranty insurance. Is the owner declining or electing to purchase home warranty? This is a conversation for you to have with your seller and for you to contact some of our home warranty company people that come in. There are some companies that will give the seller's coverage free while they're listing it. And then what they're trying to do is either get them to extend it to their buyers. If you're selling a home as is, where they're not going to make any repairs, some sellers, you might want to have them offer a home warranty to the buyer to eliminate that concern. It also means I've had listings that in the dead of winter, now their HVAC fails and they're trying to sell the property. So they don't want to put $7 grand into a new HVAC. If they had a home warranty, it would be covered during their listing. So make sure they understand everything's good until it's not, and you're going to wish you had it. Recordings within the property. You can ask your client if they have any devices, but they're allowed to have them. Enforcement. If the owner sells, conveys, or otherwise transfers the property with blank number of days after the expiration of the agreement to a person or person with whom the broker or any member has negotiated as a prospective purchaser, then it's basically saying you've earned the right to your fee. So if during your listing, Susie Joe comes in, puts an offer on, but they offer you 20,000 less, you say no, and your listing agreement expires in a couple days, so the seller says, no, I'm not gonna relist with you. And they turn around and try to sell it to Susie. If it's within blank number of days that they transfer the property, so it has to close, then you're entitled to procuring costs. So what that means is it keeps from people doing sneaky behind your back stuff with people that you brought. Now, if they're selling it to somebody completely different, you don't get anything unless you can prove that you were procuring costs. Okay? So here I normally put 90. Some people put 30, but you may not be able to close within 30 after your expiration. So 90 is just a little more broader, okay? Now, the exception of this is if you'll, I know you guys are going to read this later because I told you to. It says if the owner engages with another agent, then you are not entitled to that. Because if you're not upholding your responsibility or the owner doesn't feel like you've been doing what you're supposed to be doing and they say, I'm not relisting with you, but I'm going with somebody else, that's showing that they're trying to use another agent. They're not trying to go around the system, okay? Other terms that may be, you know, tractor and outside equipment may be purchased outside of the real estate contract. Or if we get a contract that closes by November 1st, there's a $1,000 bonus or what have you, okay? Standard provisions. You need to read all of that. You guys are being held to this, okay? And then your designated name and information, and then the owner's sign, and where it says signature broker or authorized agent, or the authorized agent. Again, just so you're aware, some brokerages, all of these have to go to the broker for review and signature. They don't allow the agent to sign on their own behalf. But it's also a check against making sure it's filled out correctly. But they're also making sure you're not making mistakes. Okay? That's how you fill it out. However, as I've said, I really need for you guys to go out and read it and know what it means. Take time, read one page a day, really break it down. I've had people before tell me the scenario of their listing. And then I'll look at the form and I'm like, why'd you put this? And they're like, I don't know, that's what I had in my notes. Okay, you've got to understand how everything interacts and what it means. I know it's tricky, but that's part of your training. And that's what we go over. But if I'm not here, you guys, I'm trying to teach you skills so that you don't just know how to fill stuff in, but that when you're out of coaching, you know how to read a contract, break it down, and interpret. Okay? And then if you really have questions, that's why we have John, legal attorney, in here. Okay. Did that help for you guys? Online.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
It'll come with practice, but you want to double check that. If you have not filled out a listing agreement before, guess what your homework is? Fill out a listing agreement. Take an address that I can look at, right? That I can see tax records, that I can see the names, so I can verify it. You guys should be practicing this stuff now. Better to practice on me than who? On your client, right? And you won't be as stressed, right? So, then I've got the listing checklist. So if you're online, I'll put it in your mailbox along with the paper copy. Let's see, did we get everybody? Oh, I guess I scared iPhone. On there, what? I'm not seeing it here, but anyway. So I'll put these in your box, practice on a listing agreement. I want you guys to get ready for your next step. So if you've never done a listing agreement, you're also going to need to have what to go on a listing plan? A listing presentation. You got it. Yes, make sure you have your listing presentation. It is in, and you guys do not have to reinvent the wheel. So many people, when I talk to them in coaching, I'm like, why haven't you done it yet? They're like, I don't know. I just don't know where to start. And I'm like, you don't have to start anywhere. Go to command, slap your name on it, and then go through the pages and take out pages that you don't want in there that reference the market. If you are not comfortable talking about numbers, there's a page in there that says your experience. Oh, sorry, you guys. I was not scrolling through online. So take out what you don't want and have it ready-made so that if at any point it comes up, and somebody says, oh, can you do a listing appointment? Can you come talk to me and my husband about selling our house tomorrow? You are not frantic to do it in a short amount of time, okay? Have it ready. Have a generic one ready, always ready to go. I print out a couple copies and have them nice and neat in a folder. I know some people who it gets all curled up in their car through heat, and it looks like it's been through, you know, been through a lot. So have a couple clean copies that are generic. So if they call and you don't have time, or that's notoriously when your computer doesn't work, or your printer's out at heat and you're freaking out, go have some paper copies. Print some blank listing agreement. I've had people, one time we had a bad storm and half the town was out of power, and people were calling me freaking out because they couldn't get online to print forms. Get a little accordion folder thing and print a blank buyer's agreement, a blank listing agreement, and a blank purchase agreement, and have the basics that you want. What I also do is you can go in to all these forms, and at the top, go ahead and fill in firm, address, broker. So that's already done, right? If you're doing in MLS, your form in Wizard, you say start a listing agreement and use Wizard. It will pre-populate our brokerage name, our broker name, all those things. You don't have to type everything. Okay, so get yourself ready for listing, and then say what? We do need the houses, but you think there are people not willing to sell? They just don't know, and they don't know. They may not know the process, right? They've been in their house 20 years. They can't even remember their agent's name. It's amazing when you make calls or door knock that people will go, I cannot believe you came here today. My husband and I were just talking last night that we need an agent to help us sell. It's divine intervention. I'm telling you, people, it's so funny when the agents tell me, you're not going to believe what happened. I'm like, I believe it. That's why I tell you to go out there and do it. You got to let people know. Okay?
Patrice,
Yes. Hey,
can I
Nicole.
ask you? Hi. I've been wanting to ask the residential property disclosure, when and how do you go, how much detail do you go over that? Do you ever have one printed out so that electronically, if you can't send it, you have that as well? And can you detail that a little bit for us so we know
Yeah,
how to address it?
yes, thank you for asking. The residential property disclosure, there is a link that you can provide to your buyers and sellers that says what the property disclosure is for. But that's also what the sum one form that we now have to have as well for buyers. The sum one summarizes the residential property disclosure, because as you know, it just kind of says, seller says they've received this brochure and they're aware. Basically, that's telling your seller and for your buyer, this form is stating that in Virginia, if a seller knows of a material defect of their home, they have to disclose it. An inspection may show that there's a leak in the attic and they're like, I didn't know, because I don't go up in my attic every day, right? I didn't know that there's a line under the house that's corroding or whatever. So that's what that RPD is. Your job is to share that link with them and say, here's the link if you want to review it further. And if they go, well, if we know there's a hole in the roof, do we have to say that? Yes, seller, we now have to say it because now you are aware of it. So what I would say is, seller, we need to get that fixed, or we're going to have to disclose it. Okay. So did that answer your question, Nicole?
Yeah, you just
Okay.
kind of give them an overview of what it is and then let them read it on their own and sign.
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
And just like anything, put it in an email. If you're sitting there across the table from them and you tell them, at the end of every meeting, I go, this is a summary of what we talked about. Let me know if this does not represent your recollection. One, you're choosing not to get a warranty. Realize that a home warranty can cover things while you're under the listing. Number two, you're choosing, you know, the RPD, here's the link. Please read and review this before you sign the RPD. Then if something comes back and buyer is suing you because you didn't tell them about the hole in the roof and you're like, I didn't know. Did the seller know? Well, I told them about the RPD. Seller says, no, you didn't. I'm relying on you. And it's a he said, she said. When people are being sued, you'd be amazed at when the finger pointing starts. And you go, well, here you go. Hearing, you know, to my hearing or my E&O claim. I said, read and review the RPD, and if you know of a material defect, you have to disclose. There it is. It's the same thing if somebody says, you didn't tell me I should get a home warranty as a buyer. You're a buyer. I'm writing up your contract. Please confirm you are okay waiving inspection and you do not want a home warranty. Yep, correct. There it is. Okay. CYA, cover your assets. All right. All right, guys. Go out there and get them. Who's going to be the next to get a listing? All right, Shaquana. Shaquana says she is. And Rhonda. All right.
Working on one.
All right, and I want to see some practice. Practice. Listing checklist. One thing that's come up a lot. Just you're welcome. Just as I said, to get yourself prepared, you're going to need a lockbox for listings. You get those at RAR. Okay. You're going to need a sign. We do have some signs here in the office that you can purchase. You can also order them online and customize it. If you are buying the sign from us, you still need the rider, which is your name and phone number, because the sign's gonna have the office information. Then you do your name rider. If you're ordering a custom sign, then your name and number are gonna be on there, but send it to me so I can make sure it's compliant, because there are certain other things that have to be on there. Okay. You do pay for photography upfront. So that is an out-of-pocket expense for you as a listing agent. Right? I've had listings where I've said, we need some mulch out front. We need to kind of freshen this up a little bit. They're like, no, not gonna do it. Like, so guess who went and got some mulch and is schlepping mulch and doing yard work? And then I brought potted plants and put them on the porch. And I keep a new doormat in my staging stuff that I can put out there. You know, so there are gonna be things I've painted. I've made, I mean, not a whole house. Not a whole house, but like we were having pictures done and they had some steps that had been painted. And they had a painter come and paint the whole downstairs inside, trim and walls. It looked beautiful. And then I went Sunday to set up some of my staging stuff because the photographer was coming. And the steps looked a mess. And I'm like, they were just here painting the trim on the steps. Why didn't they? And I was like, are you okay if I go get some paint? I ran to Lowe's. I bought some paint. And I sat there and I painted the steps and taped it off so the kids wouldn't go up it. There were wooden steps. And it made the biggest difference in pictures. And that's what Katie Hatwick was saying in Monday's meeting. She had a listing and she was showing me pictures. And I was like, and two in the bathroom, 2 bathrooms, they had the little bathroom cabinet that was all beat up. And I said, you need to slap some paint on here. These need to be painted. She asked the seller, he did a lot of other stuff. He was like, I'm not painting those. And she's like, he's not gonna paint them. I said, yes, he should. She was like, really? I'm like, yeah. She went and got some white paint, the right paint for these cabinets. I mean, you're talking, you know, the side, the frame, and 2 doors. Took her no time. And she said even the owner was like, oh my God, that made the world of difference. So just remember that I've gone in, because I had somebody that had these bookshelves and they just had, God knows, every knick-knack and everything. I was like, you need to just have books, plant, frame, you know, like take a lot of this stuff out. And we were gonna have pictures and showing start, and I went in and it was a mess. And I said, do you mind if I help you out and box some stuff up? She's like, that'd be great. I'm done. I'm tired. And I boxed and saved stuff that she had, but that took a couple hours. But that's the difference between how your properties are going to show up online and to other agents and to other clients and to their neighbors. These listings are a reflection of you. So make sure it represents the way you want it to, okay?
Yeah,
All right, it's 11:01. So we start on time, we end on time. Guys, I know sometimes we get running late. I appreciate Jamia, let me know. I am coming from somewhere. I am going to be walking in late. So I knew that up front. We had multiple people keep chiming in halfway through or midway through, right? You can't fix late with your client. If you have an appointment with a client at 10 o'clock, how do you think they're going to think about your punctuality if you get there at 10:10? You're going to be sitting there going, she or he is late. When you arrive, you say, hi, Shaquana, it's Patrice again, you know, or if you haven't met, we had a 10 o'clock appointment. It's 10 o'clock. right? You're reminding them that you're on time. And I always try to get somewhere early, because if you're not early, you'll be late. But you can't fix late, you guys. Don't say, oh, I'm sorry, traffic was horrible. Plan for traffic to be horrible. I would rather get somewhere early and sit in my car and get myself together, respond to a text or two, right? Than to show up late. So I'm glad you guys were all here. But just remember that that's a reflection on you and your business. You need to be thinking like a CEO. This is your company. And would a CEO walk in late somewhere? Right? Okay. You guys can do it. I can't wait to see all the listings coming. Go out there and get them, put them in your conversation. Talk to people. Don't be a secret agent. You're not bond. Don't be a secret agent. All right. Y'all have a great day. Be good. And let me know how I can help.
Thank you, bye.
Bye.